Tonya Hofmann's fabulous. Tonya Hofmann's fabulous. Tonya Hofmann's fabulous, fabulous TV show. Tonya.
Hello, everyone. I am so excited that you're here today on the Tonya Hofmann Show. I'm here with Miss Teresa. Yay! Hey, Teresa, how are you?
I'm really good. It's great to be here, Tonya.
So we're going to hear from Teresa in just a minute because she is amazing. It's the type of person that you need to know. Of course, everybody is the people I want to know, but especially people like Teresa. And that's kind of what we're talking a little bit today, is about how to network, how to collaborate, how to have fun. And really, really, are you having fun in your life? If you have your own business or you're working for somebody else, what do you do when you wake up? Is it, another day? Well, why? Why have that kind of attitude? You know, even if it's something that you're just having to do, just even for a minute, make it something amazing. And for me, it's all about connecting to amazing people. You know, I meet the most incredible people at the grocery store, at Starbucks. I don't care where, because each one of you has that specialness, that special sauce that makes you you. And that's really what it's about. It's really about figuring out, how do you show people your fabulousness? And, you know, when we look at, my organization, Public Speakers Association, and again, if you haven't been there by now, go to it, publicspeakers.association.com. We have a blast. And I love connecting with people that are AAA personalities, people that are movers and shakers. And what does that really mean? It just means that they have a great personality, that they love win-win scenarios, and they love taking action. One of my biggest things is I hate being bored. And so who wants to sit around being bored watching television? Now, yes, you could watch television, but don't make it your life. Don't make it about somebody else's life that's on screen. What does yours look like, right? And that's really what it's all about. So I'm excited. Now, you're going to want to stay to the end of the show because Teresa's got an incredible free offer that you need to know about. So stick around. Like always, everyone gives such amazing giveaways. So I love it. So let's get into it. So Teresa, her last name, she's going to have to spell it for y'all because it's a little different. De Grosbois, is that correct?
De Grosbois, yeah, that's right.
I almost had it. How do you spell that for everybody?
It's D-E, and then there's usually a space, capital G-R-O-S-B-O-I-S.
Nice. Is it French or what is that?
It's French. Yeah, it's actually French-Canadian, so it means of the big wood.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good backwoods name.
I love that. So tell me, Teresa, I know we've had so much fun getting to know each other and collaborating on some projects and everything. So tell people about you. How have you changed your world?
Well, I'm all about the fun, so I love it that you talk about that. I had a pretty radical life change about 12 years ago now, and I was in my late 30s, and I had what I would now affectionately call my really bad year. And I can smile at it now, like a lot of people can. When you look back at those really dark times in your life. Looking back on them, you can realize they're the best thing that ever happened to you,
Yeah.
In the space of about the first 6 months of that year, I had my business had failed. I lost my health. My marriage had fallen apart and my father died. And I remember that the only thing I was really clear on was how deeply unhappy I was, and I remember one morning I'm sitting in my post-marriage breakup new condo. And I'm sitting on the bathroom floor surrounded by tools and literally in a pool of my own tears. And, I'm looking at all the tools because I've always been a renovator, and this bathroom's going to be my latest project. And the only thing I can think is it's me that needs renovating. It's me. Because I'm looking back on my life and I can't honestly remember the last time that I can point to and say I was truly happy, that I was truly having fun with my life. And it was one of those really great moments in life because, it was a light bulb moment. It's the moment I made the decision that I'm going to stop renovating houses and I'm going to start working on myself. So I went back, I started doing every self-help course under the sun. I even did a whole certificate in mediation because I've always been a conflict avoider. Pardon me. And, I really realized I needed to go back and really work on that. And, oh, we've got a little technical issue. I'll just put it in that way. I realized that I really needed to work on my health and what I made my life about. And the really cool thing was slowly my life started getting better, and within 2 years of that time, I had quit my soul-killing corporate job. I had started a charity to raise money for schools in Africa. I had written 2 children's books, actually 3 children's books to raise money for that charity. And I very quickly put all 3 on the bestseller list. And that showed me 2 things very rapidly. The first was that I didn't really like being a children's author. I've always loved writing poetry and writing little stories for my kids and my family. And I love writing children's books, but going around to schools and doing kids programs just really wasn't lighting me up. And so the second thing that I realized was that I had people coming at me in droves saying, wow, 3 bestsellers in 8 months. How the heck did you do that, Teresa? And like, how fish don't get what water is, a lot of us don't get what we're really gifted at and we're really good at. And, it took my best friend sitting down with me one day and saying, sweetie, you've been working in the influence game your whole life. Even in the corporate world, you've been getting legislations changed. You've been creating big movements around things. You are an influencer and people are coming at you to learn influence. And when the universe is sending you a flood of something, maybe you should pay attention. It was another one of those light bulb moments for me, because I realized I was doing, 80% of my time on teaching people and coaching people how to generate word of mouth epidemics and generate influence around what it was that they wanted to change in the world. And so I rebranded myself overnight, started having way more fun in my life because I was now really doing my passion, something that really stoked me up. And everything just started to flow in my life at that point. And I've never looked back. It's just been an amazing, wonderful ride ever since then.
I love that, and I think even for myself, people see us, right? They see us now. They don't see those days that we go through.
Yeah.
And, like a lot of people, even for myself, I had to get over that kind of victim mentality and say, this is what happened, move on. I had gone through cancer. I had been robbed and tied up when I was 6 months pregnant. And those are the nice things. So when people are like, oh, you got it so good, I'm like, oh yeah, you have no idea.
It's really a journey of learning to not be your circumstances, because everybody has stuff happening in their life. I don't care what it is, and I contrast my life this year to my life when my father passed, because my mom just passed 3 months ago.
Oh.
And it's neat though, because I'm really complete and at peace with it, because I was so complete and at peace with my mom when she went,
Oh, nice.
And it's neat because I'm going through this period where the universe is throwing a lot at me again. In the last 4 months, I've had, somebody hit my car, major issues in my business. And I can really notice how much I've transformed because I'm no longer becoming a victim of what's happening to me or around me. And not that you don't need to grieve it in the moment, and not that I haven't gone in and out of profound sadness from my mom passing.
Oh, yeah.
But now I can choose to talk to her in my mind and in my heart every day. And it's, it makes a profound difference how you approach what's going on in your life in terms of your overall well-being and your overall approach to life. It's really quite amazing.
Yeah, and I think for me too, it's been about releasing the, I used to get so bent on when something happened, right? And I would just keep festering it till it became much bigger than it ever needed to be. So, I could be on somebody's show and the recording not work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always something that will go wrong when it does go wrong. And you just got to throw your hands up and go, well, that's just what happens and let's move on. My husband ran into somebody the other day and messed up the front of the car, and you're like, what are you gonna do? I mean, it happened. Just let's move on. Let's, get it fixed or find something else, So tell me, I mean, because you've got what I love about connecting with people like yourself is that the knowledge it keeps multiplying, right? We could talk about a gazillion different things at any one point, right? But I know we were going to talk a little bit about, how do you connect with influencers and maybe even why? So can you tell us some tips, techniques on how others can change their world?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of us learn one skill set around networking when we first start out in business. We learn things like it's a great idea to be really gracious to someone we meet, and you'd offer to buy them lunch or coffee if they're an important person to your business. And then we all know intuitively that it would probably be a pretty stupid thing if you met Oprah Winfrey to offer to buy Oprah Winfrey a coffee, right? But we don't know where the rule book changed, because somewhere in between the contact you met at a networking function that might be a really good lead for your business and Oprah Winfrey, there's something different that kicked in when you're dealing with influential people. And, of course, Oprah Winfrey's the opposite extreme. But a lot of what I do is I help people really understand what's that different set of rules when you're connecting with influencers. And what are the mistakes that people are making that's having them run into the gatekeepers and not be taken seriously? Because, one thing when you think about what does it mean to have influential people love your work and endorse you? I have an exercise I often do with my students when I'm teaching at big workshops. And I get them to, make a list of, key influencers in their realm that if they would endorse your work, what would that mean for you? And make a monetary estimate on what that would mean, right? And most people, well, if you're a service provider and you're dealing in the one-on-one realm, most people say, well, if somebody really influential endorsed me, like a news reporter or someone who had a very influential magazine or blog, I'd be full, so they're usually making a calculation, okay, well, I'm now working 30 hours a week. I'd be working 40 hours a week. That would mean an extra $50,000 a year to my business, right? But people who aren't working as a service provider one-on-one and have no cap on the amount they can sell, they're sometimes giving me numbers like, wow, that could be 4 million, 20 million. I've even had one person say $200 million that would mean for their business if somebody highly influential endorsed what they did. So it's really smart, and it really makes sense to understand what does it take to start connecting with influential people, and how do you get them to really take you seriously? What's that different rule book that you need to understand?
Exactly. It's funny to me because people are like, oh, Tonya, let me go buy you can I buy you a cup of coffee? And I'm like, okay, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to remember you more because you buy me a cup of coffee. It's about really figuring out win-win scenarios, don't you find?
Absolutely. The number one mistake that people make when they're wanting to connect with someone influential, and by influential, I mean someone who predominantly deals in a one-to-many conversation. We can influence people one-on-one, and some people are very influential one-on-one. But the highly influential are people like yourselves. They run large organizations, they have broad audiences, and they have a lot of people that really know, like, and trust them, right? Well, the biggest mistake I see people making is what I would affectionately call the premature ask. And it's the equivalent of, you just move into the new house and the neighbor runs by and the first thing he does is ask to borrow the lawnmower. And the reality is, you want to meet the new neighbor, you usually do something more gracious. You'd bring them an apple pie or a plate of cookies. If it's my family, you bring us pie. We're pie lovers. And, you know, but the reality is people get a little desperate when they meet influencers, and they get in there and you know, they've had all this sales training of always be closing. If you don't ask, you don't get, or, you know, all these big adages around sales training. And they get in front of these influencers and they start thinking the first thing they got to do is make an ask. Yeah. And, you know, will you endorse me? Will you connect me with this other really influential person? And the reality is it lands a bit desperate. You know, I like, my technical term for that is it's smarmy. And so it's really important that you not come out immediately with the ask. And what a lot of people don't get is offering to buy an influencer a coffee, because their time is so valuable. An hour of their time is not worth a $5 Starbucks. I'm sorry, it's just not. And so asking for an hour of their time over a coffee is not an offer or a gesture of graciousness. It's actually an ask. And it's a form of the premature ask. So you want to be really careful if somebody's a lot more influential than you are, that you're not in there asking for stuff before you ever offer to support them, offer to assist them in their work.
And don't you find, because I always giggle, because that's one big mistake that people, you know, that it's, you're trying to get the person to sit down with you. And I love getting together with people. I really do. But I've got to understand where they're coming from. What are they needing? You know, why are we getting together? And a lot of times people like cloak it because they're afraid to tell you why they want to get together, which makes me not want to get together.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the biggest habits of influential people is authenticity. And, you know, that's a word that gets thrown on a lot these days, authenticity, right? And, you know, there's a ton of definitions of what authenticity is. Well, here's mine, and feel free to quote me on this because this is coming out in my new book.
Nice.
But I would say authenticity is nothing more than your inner voice is saying the same thing as your outer voice, you know? And so if your inner voice is going, what can I get out of this? Oh, I really need this sale. Oh my God, if they endorse me, I'll make so much money. And your outer voice is saying, I love your work. I'm really a big fan of what you do. Then you've got an authenticity problem. You are landing smarmy, and it's just not going to work. The influencer's radar is going to be up. That's why influencers have gatekeepers, to protect them against people like that.
And last night, it happened last night. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And you know, sometimes we get in ourselves into situations that were like, but there was a gentleman at an event that I was at, and he kept coming up to me, Tonya, you need to know me. Oh my gosh, I know this person, this person, this person, you need to know me. And the more he kept saying that, the more I'm like, I don't want to know you.
Yeah, very true. And you know, contrast that is if he had come up and said, oh, Tonya, I have some great connections that I'd love to connect you with because I think they'd really help you with what you're doing. It's a very slight shift in what he was saying, right? Exactly. But then it's all about you. It's not all about him. And suddenly the smarminess in it is gone, and it feels a lot less desperate. It'll feel a lot better.
Yes. And I think another big mistake that people make is they come up, how can I help you, Tonya? Because people have told them that they need to figure out how to help people, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know how you can help me. I don't even know you. You know? How can I suddenly go, oh, you can help me by doing this? I mean, how will I come up with that? And I think people have to get used to figuring out how you can help somebody. Don't ask them how you know, they can help. You can help them. It just doesn't make any sense that way.
Yeah, imagine you move into the new house and the neighbor comes by saying, "What can I do for you? Do you need cookies? Do you need a lasagna? You know, what can I bake? Oh, do you want us to come mow the lawn? Just tell us. Just tell us." As opposed to, no, that's overwhelming and it doesn't feel good. Pardon me, I've got a little technical issue here again. You know, really, the way you want to assist an influencer is just offer something that you know will be good for them, and do it confidently. And if they're a no, they're a no, but they won't forget that you made the gesture, right? Another really big mistake a lot of people make is they, you know, and I've met you, I know you guys, you're out there, right? And you're probably thinking your social media is to sell you, right? I meet listeners on so many shows that are in that mindset. or they think social media is a big waste of time because they don't like selling themselves on it. Your social media is your apple pie that you take the neighbor, your list, your newsletter. That's the gift you give other influential people. That's your ability to endorse them and shout them out. Like, oh my God, Tonya, I would shout you out any day of the week because I love your work and you're such a huge contribution to the industry. You know, I don't know how many times I've retweeted you or mentioned you on my social media because I love what you do. Influential people tend to just give each other energy and shout each other out. And that's why you want to have social media or a newsletter. That's your ability to walk up to an influential person and say, wow, that's such a great talk. I understand you're going to be in Detroit next week, and I have a bunch of Twitter followers in Detroit. You know, I'd love to tweet out your event in Detroit. Can I quickly get the link for that so that I can help you? That's going to land a lot more authentic. Or I know this really influential person I want to connect you with because I think they might help you get more radio programs or get more attention to your work. Can I connect you with this individual? That's going to land a lot more authentic because it's a real and concrete thing. You're not putting the work on the influencer to figure out what they want. You're just offering them the apple pie or the lasagna. And to an influential person, the main currency of influencers is, in fact, influence. So you want to build relationship with someone who deeply cares about doing something in the world, deeply cares about causing change in some way, or you know, really creating effective business, you know, something that really solves a problem for people. Gift them influence, connection to other influential people, you know, promotion on your social media channels, interview them on your show. Oh my God, I'd come on your show any day, Tonya. You know, but make sure it's authentic. Make sure that they are someone that you really admire, and make sure that, you know, what you're offering is truly in the best interest of both parties that you're connecting, or in the best interest of your following and the person you're offering it to.
Oh yeah.
That's what really is going to work in the influence game.
Well, I've had, you know, people introduce me all the time to people, and there's some people that, you know, have a really big name and I don't resonate with them. Right? And the worst thing that I could do is bring them into my world, because then my people are like me, right? People usually follow those types of people that they resonate with. And if you start bringing on people that they're just on a different plane, then you're not even helping them, because they will not connect with the people that you're connecting with.
Yeah.
So be smart about things like that. You know, just because they have a name doesn't mean that it's someone that you need to develop a long relationship with.
Yeah, you don't want to be like a list chaser. You know, I actually had an individual 2 weeks ago, you know, because, you know, I'm like you, I run an organization that has a lot of influential people in, and the Evolutionary Business Council is all about, you know, people who are out to cause transformation and change in the world, helping each other. And I had a fellow approach me, and he's a younger speaker, and he said, can you connect me with all the people in the Evolutionary Business Council that have really big lists? And I said, well, if you had a specific reason to want to connect with one of them, you know, I'm open to that, but I'd like to know who you want to connect with and why. And he again reiterated, you know, this is my chance to let him kind of rescind what he said. But he reiterates, you know, no, I just want to meet all the people who have really big lists. And, you know, what people don't get is asking to meet someone simply because they're influential, not because you admire them, not because you want to help them, is like walking into a networking event and saying, I want to meet all the women with really big breasts.
Yeah.
You know, it lands smarmy and inauthentic and selfish. And not that looking after your own interests is inappropriate. Like, so please don't hear that in what I'm saying. But you want to make sure that what you're about is also meeting other people's best interests. And if you're making asks that aren't win-win, if they're just a win for you, then nobody in the industry is going to take you seriously. Nobody's going to want to deal with you. You're going to be landing inauthentic and smarmy. And that's really where the big mistakes in the influence game start coming about. It's because, you know, really you're being weird and no one wants to play with you. That's why you're running into the gatekeepers.
Well, and, you know, for those out there, they're like, well, you know, I don't even know anybody. My list is tiny. You know, if you have 500 people on Facebook, that are your friends. That's 500 people that I don't know. It's 500 people that Teresa doesn't know. So a lot of times people discount what they actually have built, because the right 500 people are always better than 5,000 of the wrong people.
Yeah, so important. And, the reality is it's like anything. If you wanted to play NHL hockey, you wouldn't start by stepping out on the NHL rink. No, you'd go take hockey lessons and you'd learn how to play hockey, and then you'd start playing in the junior leagues and you'd work your way up, right? Well, the influence game is no different. And I love calling it a game because it does have a set of rules and some unspoken rules, and it's really fun is the reality, right? And in the influence game, it's no different. You have influence at some level. Everyone does. I've met all of you out there listening, and I know you've got influence, and most of you have something that you'd love to do in the world to make a difference, to really change things. And you probably have the most influence around that because that's where you're really passionate. So go find those people at similar or slightly higher levels of influence to you and start playing with them. Start gifting them influence, because in the act of giving other people influence, the influence comes back to you exponentially. Because the reality is you can't make yourself famous or influential. Just like if you want to get respect, you got to give respect. To get influence, you got to give influence. So go start spending influence liberally. Spend all you have, because it comes right back to you. Influence is really cool that way. You never run out of it. And the more you give, the more you're going to get. And you'll quickly find that your level of influence is rising very rapidly when you start doing that. I've got a 30-day challenge. You want me to give you a 30-day challenge to your listeners?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so here's your 30-day challengers. And I know there's some of you super achievers out there, so you guys get to triple this, okay? But here's your 30-day challenge. For the next 30 days, can make 30 connections. So introduce personally or by email 2 influential people that you know that you think can deeply help each other. So it's got to be a win-win. So, if you can't think of anyone else, connect them to me or Tonya, But the reality is go find people, especially people that are close to the area you're passionate about, and start connecting them together. So for the next 30 days, 30 connections. For you super achievers out there, you're going to do 100, okay? And for the next 30 days, comment on and tag influential people on your Facebook. So share their stuff or comment on their stuff or spread their stuff to your Facebook. So 30 posts in 30 days. You super achievers, you're going to do 100. And I want you to just really notice how your level of influence has significantly come up in that 30 days. You'll see that there's a lot more energy around you. There's a lot more happening, and the way people talk about you is going to have radically shifted.
Love it. I love that. All right, everyone, now you've got your homework to do. You got your action plan, whatever is going to help you move forward. This is an amazing challenge. I love it. I have always done that. I do constantly email intros. I meet somebody, I'm like, oh my gosh, you need to know someone. It's just something that I do in my brain anyways. And the more and just like anything, it's a muscle. The more you use it, the more it just becomes natural. So if you're like, oh, I never can think of who to connect people to, once you start doing it, it just naturally progresses.
Absolutely. Yeah. And make sure it's authentic. You never want to connect people or shout someone out that you don't authentically love and admire. That's why I'm choosy about which shows I go on. I would go on your show any day of the week, Tonya, because I love you. You're such a huge service to the world.
Thank you.
On any given month, I say no to 10 shows or no to being posted on 10 blogs because I just don't resonate with that person's work. And it's not about judging people or making it good or bad. You just want to be really clear who you are in the world and who you connect with.
And sometimes people have agendas that just don't go along with your own. So I've gotten said yes to some people because they've asked, and I would like to support people. And then I get on there, I'm like, oh my gosh, what? So do a little bit of due diligence and get to know some people first. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on. So I know you're giving us something amazing away today. What is that?
Well, I have a free 4-week program, and it aligns really nicely with the 30-day challenge. So if you really want to just practice the skills and really start to get grounded in what some of the rules are and mistakes are that people make around the influence game, it's you work Monday to Friday exercises. We give you the weekend off. It's called Flame to Fame. Igniting wildfire word of mouth, going flame to fame in 4 weeks. So if you want to sign up for that program, visit wildfireacademy.com/free gift, and there's a dash in between the words free and gift. So
okay, say that a little bit slower.
Yeah, so it's Wildfire, WILDFIRE, Academy, ACADEMY.com/free-gift.
Perfect. Oh my gosh. So they can do that if they're listening from a year from now. Whenever they're listening, they'll be able to take advantage of that.
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Teresa, for being on today. It was such a pleasure. Really, I really want you to come back on as often as you want.
Likewise, Tonya. It was really great to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yay. All right, everybody. Don't let this influencer, you've got to connect with us. We are here to help you. We really are. This is what we do. This is what we love. We love smiling with other people who are smiling. So if you're smiling back at us right now, connect with us. Follow us. We're all on social media. So get connected, Twitter, Facebook, all those fun things, so that we get to know you. And thank you for being on the show. We'll have another fantastic guest next time. Make sure that you listen in. Don't miss it. We always have fun. And then check out my website, publicspeakersassociation.com, and get connected there, because people are waiting to hear from you and waiting to hear your message. They're waiting for you to change their life. So get going and become a speaker. Bye, everyone. Bye, Teresa.
Thanks, Tonya.